Last time on Star Trek The Next Generation.
You mother you're gonna kill all my lilies!
On the outskirts of Olivine, Jessie and Chansey wait patiently for the ferry to Cianwood. The passenger deck is totally empty, except for one other person, James. It's been a while. Long enough for you to compete in the Indigo League, I hear. Tell me everything. Well, it's a long story, but we do have some time to kill before the next island. Once James tells Jessie of his Indigo League competition, and introduces her to Meowth, hearing him talk makes Jessie faint for a minute too, he tells her of how he traveled the Orange Archipelago. Leaving his parents' mansion near Fuchsia City, James, Meowth, and his Pokemon traveled south. The goal was to reach the Orange Archipelago and have a new adventure. Unlike hiking around Kanto, the archipelago wasn't an easy place to travel to though. He made it to the Seafoam Islands with ease, however when it came time to swim down to the archipelago on Gyarados' back, even with calm waters, James got lost in the vast ocean. James and his Pokemon ended up stranded on an empty island. New Island. Luckily, a research team arrived not long after to begin construction on a new facility. Apparently, they were being funded by the CEO of the world's foremost Pokemon theme park. The head researcher, Dr. Zager, and his assistant, a young Dr. Fuji, give James a map with proper navigational tools to help travel through the archipelago. However, James can't help but get a weird vibe from them, especially Dr. Zager. Whenever he asks them what they're researching or who they work for, he finds a way to avoid the question. When Dr. Zager sees that Meowth is able to talk, the first Pokemon he'd ever seen with the ability, his eyes get wide with excitement. He definitely made James and Meowth feel uncomfortable, and when Dr. Zager offered them a ride back to the mainland at Old Shore Wharf, they quickly declined. As soon as they could, they got on Gyarados' back and headed down to the nearest orange island, Hamlin Island. Hopefully that will be the last they ever see of Dr. Zager and whatever team he works for. On Hamlin Island, James learns of the Orange League. He's hesitant to sign up for another league competition, but hearing about how different it is compared to other leagues, and with some encouragement from Meowth and Growly, James decides to sign up. There are 4 Orange League badges to get, and the sooner he begins, the better. He heads first to Kumquat Island, which is known for their luxurious seaside resorts. After spending so long at sea, James and his Pokemon relax in one of the many resorts before heading off to the Kumquat Gym. Here, they meet Luana, the gym leader. Though currently pregnant with the soon-to-be-named Travis, she's more than up for taking on challengers. She tells James that her gym is about coordination and teamwork. He must win against her in a double battle, James's first ever. Luana uses her Alakazam and Marowak, and James sends out Haunter and Ditto. James feels the two Pokemon's love of pranks and games will mesh perfectly for his first double battle. Ditto begins by transforming into Luana's Alakazam. James's Ghost type and newly changed Psychic type feel like the ideal pairing. However, Luana's Pokemon have battled together for years and coordinate their attacks perfectly. Alakazam's Reflect and Teleport seem to stop any attack Ditto and Haunter throw at them, and Marowak's Bone Meringue does incredible damage. If James is going to win this match, he has to find a way to overpower Alakazam's defenses. James decides the best way is to focus on his Pokemon's strengths, being goofballs. Haunter, making funny faces, distracts Alakazam long enough for Ditto to sneak up on it and grab it from behind. Using Teleport, Ditto transports itself and Alakazam into the sky. With Alakazam out of the picture for a moment, Marowak has no defense against Haunter's hypnosis. Asleep and attacked by a powerful Dream Eater, Marowak is defeated before Alakazam and Ditto crash back to the ground. Ditto avoids the damage by transforming into Haunter and floating away with a chuckle. With Marowak defeated and Alakazam knocked out from the fall, James has beaten Luana. He has his first Orange League badge, the Jade Star badge. On the way to the next island with the gym, James stops off on the nearby Shamuti Island. A passing sailor informs him that they're having their annual Legends Festival to celebrate the god of the ocean, Lugia. The island is alive with music, dance, and food, and James and all his Pokemon join in on the fun. Meowth, in particular, indulges in the food a bit too much and walks away from the group to find a place to sleep it off, so he can then come back and eat more. Just outside of the festival grounds, Meowth comes across a lone Slowpoke near a shrine. It's looking off into the distance towards 3 nearby mountainous islands. Meowth tries to chit-chat with it, but all it seems to want to talk about are prophecies and coconuts. James comes by, looking to see where Meowth ran off to, but trips and stumbles on the rocky terrain. One of his Pokeballs flies towards Meowth and Slowpoke, and hits Slowpoke right in the head. Unexpectedly, and completely by accident, James catches himself a Slowpoke. It's transported directly to his grandparents, who are also caring for his Carnivine at the moment, who he decides to add to the party for the next gym. After another day of partying, James leaves Shamudi and soon arrives at Naval Island. He's told by the gym leader Danny that before they compete, James must prove his strength by climbing a mountain. Also, side note, unlike in the anime, let's say Danny isn't a creep who hits on kids and pretend he's a good person.
I've seen lots of beautiful things in these islands, but nothing as beautiful as you.
Beautiful as me?
You are a fast mover. Please have a seat right there.
James's Pokemon cannot help him climb to the top, but Meowth says he will make the climb with James to keep him motivated. Of course, by this he meant sit on James's shoulders and tell him to climb faster, but I suppose it works, because James makes it to the top completely unharmed. The gym itself is a best of 3 competition. The first round requires both trainers to use one Pokemon to freeze a geyser of hot water. James doesn't have any Pokemon who know Ice-type attacks, but he does have Ditto. Ditto transforms into Danny's Nidoqueen, and the two use Ice Beam to freeze the geyser. Unfortunately, Ditto has less experience with the move, and finishes only a few seconds before Danny, meaning James loses the first round. But in the second round, where both trainers must use 3 Pokemon to carve the frozen geyser into a sled, James is able to win, thanks to Nidoqueen's double kicks, Growly's flamethrower, and Carnivine's Vine Whip. Meowth does mention that James could have won even faster if he was allowed to use Fury Swipes, but Meowth doesn't want to get his paws cold. The last round, which will decide the winner, has both trainers race down the mountain on the sleds they just constructed. James rides in the sled with Growly, Carnivine, and Weezing. The race is neck and neck down the mountain, but as they both reach a rocky section, Danny's able to pull ahead slightly. But James has an idea to get ahead, and above. He tells Growly to hold in a flamethrower to heat up his body right below Weezing, allowing the levitating Pokemon to float higher than normal. With Weezing then tethered down by Carnivine's vines, the sled is able to float just above the rocky surface. James doesn't slow down and is able to get ahead of Danny. In his own makeshift, hot air balloon, James is able to win the race and earn his second badge, the Sea Ruby badge. Before heading to the next gym, James and Meowth stop off at Mandarin Island South. Exploring the island, they come across a moving company. A girl just moved here and introduces herself thinking James is one of her new neighbors. She says her name is Lorelei, but some people call her Prima. She's studying Pokemon and tells him she moved here from the Sevi Islands to start a new job. James tells her he isn't a local, but a trainer competing in the Orange League. Lorelei says, "Oh, that means you'll be on your way to Pomelo Stadium soon. How exciting. Well here, let me help you out and mark on your map the island with the next gym." James thanks her, happy he didn't have to admit he had gotten lost again and needed directions. She still has a lot of unpacking to do, so he decides to move on. They part ways, Lorelei wishing James best of luck on the rest of his journey. James heads to the island Lorelei marked for his next gym challenge, Valencia Island. In the anime, Rudy on Travita Island would be the next gym, but I believe at this point Rudy would be far too young to be a gym leader. Instead, at this point in time, one of the Orange League gym leaders is none other than Professor Ivy. Well, not exactly. She isn't a professor just yet. Ivy is currently doing research for her professorship on Valencia Island, where the Pokemon have unique regional variants. When James arrives, Ivy explains the rules of her gym. Unlike many other gyms, this one tests more than a trainer's battling skills. Ivy, hoping to become a professor in the future, started this gym believing traveling trainers could help in her research. The Valencia Gym Challenge is this. A trainer and one of their Pokemon must travel the island in search of unique-looking Pokemon. Ivy gives James a scorecard with 4 Pokemon listed on it and a camera. He must locate these 4 Pokemon and snap a picture of them. If he can find all 4 and make it back before sundown, the badge is his. James chooses Growly to join him on the Valencia scavenger hunt. They've been together almost their whole lives, and Growlithes are known for their amazing sense of smell and tracking abilities, so he's the perfect choice. He's also such a good boy. James and Growly are able to check off Pokemon quickly. First Raticate, then Butterfree, then the tricky Paris, who is hiding within the foliage. All that's left to find is Vileplume, but both luckily and unluckily for the two, a Vileplume finds them. But this isn't a normal Vileplume. The grass type is nearly the size of a tree. Perhaps a rogue Pokemon who somehow got to Valencia from Fairchild Island, where Pokemon grow to huge size. The giant Vileplume attacks James and Growly. Growly remembers vividly the beating it took from Jezebel's Vileplume in the league, and is ready to prove how much it's grown. Despite the size difference, when James turns to run, Growly stands his ground. With all of its experience fighting this type of Pokemon, Growly dodges Stun Spores with ease. Fueled by fiery revenge, Growly uses Fire Blast for the first time ever to defeat the rogue, giant Vileplume. It howls in victory. Taking a picture of Vileplume, James earns his third badge, the Spike Shell badge. But seeing the fire behind Growly's eyes not die down, even after defeating Vileplume, makes James worry. He hopes Growly doesn't let his anger from past losses get the better of him. After Valencia Island, James stops off at Pinken Island, hoping to give his Pokemon, especially Growly, a break. However, the island has recently become off-limits due to poachers being rampant in the area, so they must leave before anyone gets a proper rest. Growly seems as fiery as before, and Gyarados also seems worn out from traveling the high seas. At Meakin Island, James has his final gym battle against the newest gym leader in the Orange League, Sissy. She says that to win her badge, James must compete in 2 challenges. The first is a sharpshooting challenge using water Pokemon, and the second is an open sea race. James is worried about using Gyarados in both rounds, considering how tired it is from swimming island to island, and not getting a break at Pinken. Because James absolutely needs Gyarados for the second round, he decides to give his only other water Pokemon its first shot at the big leagues. He sends Ditto to his grandparents, and brings out the Pokemon he caught by mistake, Slowpoke. Slowpoke takes its place next to Sissy's Seadra, seemingly unfazed by how important this match is. However, as though it actually does understand the stakes perfectly, once James orders it to use Water Gun, it snipes each of the cans before Seadra can even get through half of them. James is just as stunned as Sissy. There may be more to this lazy-looking Pokemon than meets the eye. In the second round, thanks to the short break Slowpoke was able to give Gyarados, the dragon is more than ready to race against Sissy's Blastoise. Blastoise is clearly happy it doesn't have to actually battle Gyarados, intimidated just by the look in the sea monster's eye. When it comes to the race, the two are neck and neck for the first half. The turn comes and Blastoise sneaks ahead as Gyarados can't turn as quickly, nearly falling over. But with a mighty roar, Gyarados uses Dragon Rage to create just a teeny tiny tsunami. With the added boost of the wave, Gyarados flies past Blastoise and crosses the finish line. Sissy, a little anxious to get Gyarados off of her island as soon as possible, gives James his final badge, the Coral Eye badge. With all 4 Orange League badges, James heads off to Pomelo Stadium to challenge the final gym leader. Before heading into Pomelo though, James stops off at a deserted island to give Gyarados a well-deserved rest. While swimming in a freshwater spring, James finds a huge patch of wild salvia weed. A powerful medicine that can alleviate paralysis, James picks a bunch of it and puts it in his bag. Though it smells a little funky, you never know when it might come in handy. On Pomelo Island, James with all 4 Orange League badges is ready to face off against the head gym leader in a 6-on-6 battle, another first for James. He enters the stadium museum expecting to meet the head gym leader prior to their match. However, he's instead greeted by Lorelei. Well, hello James. You got all 4 badges, I assume? Yeah, it wasn't easy, but me and my Pokemon managed to do it. Oh, I knew you would. That's why I came straight here right after we met. Gave me plenty of time to prepare before our match. Oh, that's smart. So then we can't... Wait, what? You're the head gym leader? That's right. At this point in time, the current head gym leader is none other than the soon-to-be Elite Four member, Lorelei. To be clear, there's nothing in the anime or manga that says Lorelei was ever a part of the Orange League. However, considering how strong of a trainer she is, her assumed age, and the fact that she grew up in the Sevii Islands and moved to the Orange Archipelago, makes it seem like a perfect fit for her to have gotten her start here instead of the Indigo League. This might be James's toughest battle yet. Though Slowpoke proved itself against Sissy, James chooses to replace him with Ditto prior to the match. On the video call with his grandparents, he can tell that Haunter's upset to not be participating in the battle, but James assures him there will be more chances in the future. Haunter still pouts, making James realize for the first time that Haunter really likes battling a lot more than he expected. With a roaring crowd around them, including a cheerleading Meowth, James and Lorelei enter the arena at Pomelo. Lorelei wishes James good luck, but that she won't be holding back. She sends out her first Pokemon, Dugong, and James sends out Carnivine. Though Dugong is part water type, its super effective Aurora Beams are almost too much for Carnivine to handle. They exchange Bullet Seeds and Aurora Beams, doing just as much damage to the arena as they are to each other. Soon, both are knocked out by simultaneous hits. Lorelei's clearly not to be underestimated. She then sends out Jinx, and James sends out Nidoqueen. Lorelei believes Jinx, an Ice and Psychic type, will have no problem dispatching the Ground and Poison type, but James wastes no time and orders Nidoqueen to use Giga Impact. Surprised by the sudden and powerful attack, Jinx is knocked out in one shot. However, James can't celebrate yet. He knows that Nidoqueen will need a minute to recover and can only hope that she can withstand an attack from Lorelei's next Pokemon. And she sends out a Swinub? The tiny pig Pokemon looks almost invisible next to the massive Nidoqueen. James sighs, relieved that Nidoqueen will be able to recover from the Giga Impact. Until Lorelei orders Swinub to use Sheer Cold. Even audience members in the back row feel a chill down their spine as the arena freezes over. Nidoqueen's taken out instantly. James berates himself for underestimating even a single one of Lorelei's Pokemon. He sends out Weezing to battle Swinub. Knowing he can't afford to let Weezing take a hit from sheer cold, he doesn't order Weezing to use Bide. Instead, covering the area in smoke screens, Weezing's able to defeat the small Pokemon with a surprise takedown. However, the powerful attack leaves Weezing damaged from recoil as Lorelei sends out her next Pokemon, Lapras. Though Weezing's able to get in a sludge attack, it's defeated soon by Lapras's Blizzard. James believes the only way to withstand one of Lapras's attacks is to resist it, and sends out Ditto, who transforms into Lapras. Resistant to any ice or water attacks, Ditto should be able to damage Lapras, but Lorelei was prepared for even this strategy. She orders Lapras to use Thunderbolt and knocks out Ditto with one shot. James believes Growly would be a good match for the Ice type, but as Lapras and Growly begin exchanging attacks, James can see there's something off with him. He's moving frantically and taking bigger risks to do damage. James can't tell what's gotten into Growly since coming to the Orange Islands, but is worried. He recalls Growly and sends out Gyarados. Lorelei chuckles and prepares to defeat Gyarados with a quad-effective Thunderbolt. But before she can, Gyarados uses Hyper Beam. The powerful attack shatters part of the arena floor, sending ice and dust up into the air. Gyarados is stuck from recharge, but believes he at least was able to take out Lorelei's ace. Until the dust settles and he sees Lapras is still standing. Damaged heavily, but still in fighting condition, it uses Thunderbolt on Gyarados. Smoking from the electric attack, Gyarados is about to be declared unfit to battle, but as Gyarados faints, perhaps driven to avoid a repeat of the Lapras battle it had in the Indigo League, falls forward towards Lapras and bites down on it. No matter how the Ice-type moves, it can't shake off Gyarados. Somehow, despite already being knocked out, Gyarados' bite attack is able to do enough damage to take Lapras out with it. Down to his last Pokemon, but a little shaken by the intense level of battling, James sends Growly back out. The fire behind its eyes hasn't died down, and against Lorelei's Cloyster, it shrugs off water gun attacks like they're nothing. After a takedown, Cloyster uses a surprise payback, but the Dark-type move seems to only make Growly stronger? Growly's ability is revealed to be justified, powering him up after being hit by a Dark-type attack. This gives a second takedown the attack needed to defeat Cloyster. Lorelei sends out her final Pokemon, Slowbro. James's heart sinks. Another water type? Growly doesn't have any moves effective for this. What can he do? James remembers how damaged Nidoqueen and Gyarados got in the Indigo League and considers forfeiting right then and there. But his best friend doesn't give up. He shoots out Fire Blast after Fire Blast against Slowbro, but it douses each one with Hydro Pumps. Nothing Growly does can even touch Slowbro. James can tell Growly's pushing itself extremely hard. He can picture the puppy Pokemon imagining all the losses it faced in the past and wanting to stand by James as his reliable partner. But James yells to Growly to calm down, to not worry about disappointing him, that he'd rather lose than see his best friend so overwhelmed. Growly stops unleashing Fire Blast after Fire Blast and centers himself. Letting his fire burn within, he becomes engulfed in flames. James immediately becomes scared until Growly's eyes open and he charges forward against Slowbro. Still powered up from Justified, Growly delivers an incredibly strong Flare Blitz. Though damaged immensely from all of the recoil, Growly stands tall as Slowbro faints. His eyes are still bright from an inner fire, but unlike before, Growly's in control. It's no longer a wildfire. Growly's growing up, and James is declared the winner. Meowth jumps out of the stands and runs towards the two. James and Meowth hug a pretty bruised up Growly, who winces a little but howls with excitement. Lorelei commends James for how driven his Pokemon are, and says that she expects great things from him. The audience gives a thunderous applause as James is crowned champion of the Orange League. The next day, James speaks with Lorelei at the Pokemon Center as both of their teams are healed. He says he's ready to head somewhere else to see more Pokemon and have a new adventure. Lorelei tells him to head to Terraco Island and board a ferry that will be following a herd of Lapras as they migrate to the region of Johto. James says it sounds perfect and takes the ferry. It passes through open ocean and the southern tip of Johto before finally taking port in Olivine City, where James waited patiently, only to be shocked by a sudden appearance of who he thought was Jezebel.
That's right, Madam Boss. He had a talking Meowth. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. Wonderful. And you say he's traveling with Miyamoto's daughter? That's what my scouts tell me. Perfect. I'll get you, James. And your little Meowth, too.